Welcome to Calming the ADHD Chaos, a summit on brain hacks for a calm, confident, connected family. My name is Laura Dawn, and I am your host. I am an ADHD warrior mama to two amazing neurodiverse boys and the founder of the ADHD Village. Today, we will be learning about what ADHD truly is and how we can help our kids navigate ADHD in our current world. I'm very excited to introduce you to one of my mentors and a leader in human kindness and human emotion, Sara Longoria. Sara is a success mentor and teacher of energetics and manifestations to thousands of individuals and companies around the world. She is the creator and the founder of the Rapid Relief Technique, a groundbreaking technique that shows people how to relieve everything they don't want to live and welcome in more of what they do want. So we've actually talked about the RRT technique throughout the summit. We interviewed Sara Nicorek, and she's actually guided us through a tapping. So this is Sara Longoria, the creator. She's also the founder and creator of Hey You Human, which I encourage everybody to be a part of. It's a human development company helping humans all over the world live to their fullest potential and create their best lives. So you can join Hey You Human community on Facebook.
Yep.
She is known internationally for her work. Sara has a degree in biomedical science with a minor in physiology and post-grad work in epidemiology. She's trained in RRT, EFT, and energy medicine. She lives in Corpus Christi with her husband and two children. Welcome, Sara. I'm so excited to learn from you today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So you are someone who's been an important part of my life. Your RRT tapping has absolutely transformed my family. Raising kids with ADHD and then finding out that I too have ADHD was a lot. And there were times when I was an absolute mess, a puddle on the floor, not being able to cope, a yelling, screaming mess. Basically, I was not the mom that I thought I would be. And lots of feelings of helplessness and hopelessness and all sorts of chaos in my house. And I didn't really know what to do with it all. And then I worked with my life coach, Sara Nicorek, and she introduced me to you. And I tapped into a whole new world, literally.
Yes, it literally is.
Can you just share quickly about your story and what led you into developing RRT?
Yeah, sure. It's a little bit similar to what you're saying. I really, my life had kind of fallen apart, and it was very chaotic and things were just terrible, really. And I was using a lot of the coping mechanisms that I had learned in my training, the energy work, the normal EFT tapping, and it was helping and I was feeling better, but I felt like something was missing. And I had always been somebody that had, I did it right? Like I did it right. I figured out how to work with how I operated. I forced myself to fit into the boxes. I did it all how they told me to do it and was so dying inside, and just chaotic and health problems and just the stress, I think, and you probably know this of somebody who is ADHD or doesn't fit the mold of how society wants you to work. The energy it takes on your body to fit in to how the world wants you to operate is a lot. It's a lot. And so I was really at a point in my life where it was a lot, and I had two young kids and it just wasn't working for me. And I had a moment where my son just took me to my limit. I went into the bathroom. Like I always say, like every good mother, what did I do? I locked myself in the bathroom, closed the door, locked it. I started tapping like I knew how to tap, telling myself, releasing this anger. This isn't you. This lives in my body. This isn't you. Trying to neutralize the emotion, which is mainly what we're always taught in this world. Neutralize your emotion, like come back to center, breathe through it. And something kind of took over my body, and I really just lost it and started saying all the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad things that no human should say about themselves and no human should say about their children. And the whole time my brain is like, this is not okay. These are things you should never say. But at the end of the day, after I said them while tapping and looking at myself in the mirror, I felt more relief in that 30 seconds than I've ever felt in the whole time I had been doing all of this mindset and spiritual and energetic work. And I was like, that was really weird. And then I just started doing it more. I started really paying attention to how I was feeling. I started really paying attention to what was going on. I started using this over and over again. And it worked. And what I really noticed is with adults that are ADHD and children that are ADHD, we naturally have a huge energetic life force. Naturally is a lot of energy. You see it with kids. They're all over the place. And when you hold in emotions, it creates even more chaos for them, for us. And so it's even more than it's this like,
and this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing to the kids with ADHD. Sit still, be quiet, like stay on that chair, do your work. Like
it is.
Stop calling out.
It is like, I even look at myself, how I operate now. Like I am all over the place. I mean, like, I'll even tell you with this interview, we book it. And my assistant says, do you know that you just booked an interview for 7:30 in the morning? And I was like, no, I booked it for 8:30. She's like, time difference, Sarah. And I was like, oh, time difference. Like my mind doesn't work like most people's do. And I frustrate the hell out of people in my life. You can ask my husband, who's always like, oh my God, why do you go to the grocery store and come home with 25 things that weren't on the list and forget 3 of the only 5 things that were on the list? And I'm like, I don't know. It's fascinating, isn't it? But what it did for a very long time was it created an immense amount of shame and guilt and self-hate and you're bad and what's wrong with you. And it forced me into this hyper energy of like, must fit in, must remember, must do this. And it just wreaked havoc and disease in my body. And that's what happens. I see it. I see having one child who's not ADHD, who's just like chill. And I see the other one who has it. And I see even having a parent who understands it, how much self-hate he pulls in because he's like, God, why can't I just do it like everybody else? You can't, baby. You're not made like everybody else. You were never supposed to be like everybody else. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. The world just hasn't caught up to people like us yet.
That's so heartbreaking. The piece about the self-hate that our kids are experiencing self-hate.
Yeah, they are. It starts young. It starts very young because we are in a world that tells us who we should be, how we should act, and it's a very small margins. You know, our schools, our world is created for one type of human. And there's probably about, I don't even know, thousands, millions, I don't even know, types of humans. There's not one type of human. But we've created a world, an institution, and for one type of human. And we wonder why people are so dissatisfied or so unhappy or searching relentlessly for something different.
What is the secret about ADHD? What is it really?
It's just a different type of human. Like, I mean, that's the thing. It's, I don't even like to use the term ADHD, like, because to me, it's just a different type of human, it's like you have people that like to run, you have people that don't like to run.
Mhm.
Like, we're different. And so to me, ADHD doesn't exist. It's not a disorder.
Mhm.
It's not hyperactivity. To me, autism and all of that stuff doesn't exist. We just have an influx of the new type of human that's coming into our world for where we are evolving to. And most people don't understand that. We have a hard time as humans accepting new things. Here's a perfect example. The guy who invented the cell phone, that we literally walk around, that is like our new God. We like cannot leave, be away from. We panic if we leave it. Like, it is our life, right? Years he was laughed out of venture capitalist meetings, laughed out of them. Oh my God, who's ever going to want to carry around a phone? Oh, that's the stupidest idea I've ever heard. Right? For years, the Beatles were turned down after record company after record company. Your music is terrible. Nobody will ever like it. FedEx was failed. The Harvard Business School failed him because they said his idea was terrible and would never be viable nor work. Biggest company, biggest shipping company in the world now. People don't see, most people don't see new. They don't understand new. They don't get it. And so our world is quickly changing. There's a lot of innovation. There's a lot of changes that need to occur. And I will tell you, personally, I believe this transition has been so hard because many of the people that are supposed to lead it and help us and create the things to do this are our quote unquote ADHD people who have been squashed, who have been told no, and who have been put in a little box, told to sit down and shut up, and have lost their spark, have lost their initiative to do what I know I did, and here I affect, and my work affects tens of thousands of lives, and I'm sure more as we're just getting started. But I would never be here if it wasn't for literally unraveling all that the world taught me about myself.
And I love how you point out that ADHD is a difference rather than a disorder.
Yes,
And
it's just a difference.
Yeah, there's a psychiatrist in Oakville, Ontario, Canada, Dr. Kenny Handelman. He's just written a book. And in his book, he calls ADHD, and he replaces the D at the end instead of disorder. He calls it a difference.
It's a difference.
And I absolutely love your thinking of embracing that difference. One of the benefits of ADHD is the ability to take risks.
Yeah.
And
to just go without
yes.
thinking,
Yes.
to have that massive energy to bring new things to the world. Like, people are always like, where do you get your energy from? And I'm like, I don't know. Came with me. I can't explain it. But then I look at my son, who's like all over the place all the time. Like, he does this thing he calls explosions, where he's just like, he'll do it for hours outside through the house. And most people would be like, stop him. Like, when my parents are here, they're like, oh, stop him. He has so much energy. And I'm like, that's how he gets it out. If I don't have a place to channel his energy right now, he naturally knows how to do it. So if I stop him from doing that, why? Yeah. That's like his jam. Like, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'm like, not in the house, man. Go outside so I don't have to hear the explosions, but it's like, they know how to work with their bodies.
Yeah. When my oldest son was young, he loved digging with a shovel. So we had a portion of the backyard that was his to dig, and he dug this huge trench, and it would be really fun when it would fill up with rain and it would be muddy. And he loved that digging, like that.
that emotion.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of energy. And unfortunately, from what I have studied, is that screen time
Mhm.
is rough on ADHD
Yeah.
kids. And
Yes.
unfortunately, what do we often do with kids who are hyperactive? We stick them in front of screens because they're driving us crazy, which I get you, parents. I get you. Like, I get you, where sometimes you're just like, ah. But what I have noticed with my son is that if I limit him to an hour or less of screen time, game changer. Like, it is a game changer.
I had this
him.
conversation with a mom yesterday, actually, and she said that she noticed, and I've noticed the same thing, that when her kids start the day with screens,
Changes
they're
everything.
they're more aggressive with each other, and it's just. But if you start the
they
day outside, what a difference! They're different
it's a
kids.
total difference. Or playing with Legos or doing something like this. It's funny because like with my daughter, complete difference. That chick could watch TV for 8 hours straight, bebops off like nothing happened, you know? And so there's something with that energy, especially when they're younger. I feel like for me as an older adult, like it doesn't have that same effect as it once did, but it definitely does in the developing brain with certain children. And so really helping him understand that has been big, and also allowing the emotion.
So allowing the emotions.
Yeah, allowing the emotions. I think, ADHD children and adults are very emotional, very emotional. And we as a society, as a world, do not know how to handle emotions. And so allowing the emotions to come with your children is a huge, huge change, and not judging them, when they're raging out at you, not saying, don't talk to me like that. Saying, hey, I'm not for speaking to you like that, but I see that you have anger. I see that you have all this. Take it to your bedroom, man. Get it all out. Let's talk when you're done. Huge change.
Just a little shift there in the language makes such a big difference.
Yeah, it does. Because yes, I'm not your punching bag, but and really truly under the age of 5, sometimes you do have to be their punching bag, because their brains are not developed enough to understand you saying, I'm not your punching bag, go get this out. They're like, what? No, you are. And so
the punching bag idea, I was going to say, you had suggested that kids have like a punching pillow or a punching toy that they can get their frustrations out. And I actually have in my house a literal punching bag with boxing gloves. And if they have a lot of that pent up anger, I just say, go and punch it out.
Go punch it out. Say all the things you want to say right now. Don't say them to the human, because humans are not for hurting. We have a lot of talks in our house about humans are not for hurting. And I tell them we've hurt humans for a long time, and we keep thinking that's our default, but it is not our default. And I know we can be better than this. Humans are not for hurting. So go hurt. We have like big Mickey and Minnie dolls. They'll go and throw around and kick. And I'm like, thank you, Mickey and Minnie. I'm so sorry.
So I'm hearing some really good strategies. I just want to pull them out. So allowing your kids to feel their emotions is huge. Letting them express their energy, whether it's bouncing around doing explosions or digging holes in the backyard. Having an understanding about limits around screen time. How else can we support our kids navigate ADHD in our current world?
So for me, I've had very frank conversations with my son about the fact that people are not going to necessarily understand you, that you operate differently than everybody else does. But yeah, so, I've had conversations with him about, look, you operate different than how this world is set up. And so I've shared with him some of my personal, but kind of like my personal things that have occurred in my life. And I'll use examples that he has seen. I'll say, like, you know how I always forget things and your dad makes fun of me so much about it, you know, and I'm like, and you know how you do that too? Someone says something to you, you start walking to do it, then you're over here, then you're over here, then you're over here. And then you come back into the room and everybody's like, so did you do it? And you're like, do what? Like, I'm that way too, honey. And I get it. I understand it. I don't want you to change that about you, but you live in a world that doesn't quite understand that yet. So sometimes you have to work with yourself a little bit to get things done in this world that doesn't understand us. And so I tell him some of the things I use. Like, I'll say, like, you know, I write a lot of stuff down. I write a lot of stuff down because my brain picks it up, drops it off, and is onto something else long before it ever gets done. And so I say, like, I write a lot of stuff down. If it's important and I need to do it, I write it down. I also say, I use a lot of people to help me remember things. So literally, if it's not in my calendar, it's not happening. Like, it legitimately is not happening. And so I tell them, like, ask me if you need to remember something, tell me, I will write it down. Tell daddy, let's, you know, make sure. I also say, sometimes I will say to myself when I really need to remember something or I need to do something, I will just, the whole time I'm walking to do it, I'll just say, focus, 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 or I'll repeat it over and over in my head. So it's like, something silly, like go get your phone. I will literally just walk and go get your phone, 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 until I get my phone. And then I'm like, check mark. And I also let him know that a lot of people aren't going to understand him. Like, you're going to have people in your life that are going to say you have too much energy, you need to calm down. You're going to have people in your life that are going to say things like that. Don't believe them. Know that you're awesome. Know that who you are is okay. And know that. And don't worry about what they say. They just don't understand people like us. And so I set him up to understand that the world is not going to understand him.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but don't let them change you. Don't let them, try to mold you into something you're not. Be you, and just learn how to kind of skirt in and work with it enough so that you can get through this part. And then I'm like, and then baby, when you're an adult, you can do whatever you want. I created my own business for exactly this reason, so that I could operate in my natural ways and not have people tell me I can't do it.
I love that. Teaching them to be okay with who they are and not listen to all the noise that comes in, because
Yes.
by the age of 12, kids with ADHD receive, I believe the number is 20,000 more negative comments about themselves, or more than neurotypical peers. I'm just thinking of my own kids, like even adults who are, friends of the family, who are saying things, thinking it's joking or silly or like, and it's not. And it's like,
and I think also it's being an advocate for your kid, which can be sometimes really uncomfortable, right? When like a grandparent or somebody will say something like, oh my God, he has so much energy. Does he ever sit down?
Yeah.
And you to say, yeah, he does have a lot of energy and it's really awesome. And I know he's going to do great things in this world with all that energy. Right. So that they're like, instead of like, like, what's wrong with me? Because what people don't understand is that ADHD, you can't change it. It's who you are. Mm-hmm. It's who you're born to be in this world. And so people are like, what's wrong with you? Change it. And you're like, oh my God, there's something like innately wrong with me. Like I was born wrong. Mm-hmm. And that's the worst feeling for you to ever feel as a human being, that you are innately broken and something's wrong with you when you're not. The other thing I would say too is, he's in Montessori school, mm-hmm. which was a game changer, right? And talking to teachers about it. Look, my kid may be doomed ADHD, but I actually don't really believe in ADHD. I think he's just a different type of child, and I really encourage you to work with him instead of against him. Here's
Mhm.
some of the techniques and things I do. But, Montessori really allows more of that ebb and flow that kids like this, that people like this really enjoy.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's, ADHD people are very often very powerful people. They want to do what they want to do. They don't want to be held back and restricted. And we live in like a world that's like, do what I tell you to do. Sit there, stop talking, and that just doesn't work.
It's so important that they're comfortable at school, that there's a good connection with the teachers, that you're sharing the strategies that work with the teachers. And like you found Montessori, sometimes there might be private school options, or
Yes.
in my district, there are options for kids. Often ADHD comes alongside with learning disabilities. So a self-contained learning disability class can be a game changer because it's a small class size.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of focus on social and emotional learning, self-regulation, how to use assistive technology. A small class size, if you can find that type of opportunity for your child, it's a game changer.
Yeah, it is. It 100% is. So yeah.
So what are the best tools for parents? You've talked about letting them feel their emotions, advocating for their children, teaching
Yeah,
your kids.
the best tool for parents, hands down, is going to be what I teach with the RRT in releasing your emotions, because children in general are going to push every absolute button, wounding, trigger, anything you got going on in that human body of yours that needs to evolve, be released, let go. Your child's going to be like, meep, 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 meep. And truly, I think a lot of parents who have ADHD children were ADHD themselves and carried a lot of that stigma, still carry a lot of that stigma. And so their child takes them to a whole new place, a place they never thought they would go as a human. Like, I feel like when Max came into my life, I don't think I ever in my entire life yelled. Literally, I don't think I ever yelled, got angry, none of that until this child came into my life and started to get older. And I was like, what is happening to me? Like, what is happening to me? And what really was happening to me was all of the anger and resentment of not being allowed to be who I was as a child, was so being triggered by his behavior. And I really do feel like, we evolve as humans. And I feel like our generation of humans, we were a little bit of both. We had the whole ADHD component, but we also had this older human component that was like, I can conform. I can do this. I can conform. I can do this. So we conformed. This next generation of ADHD, they're like the upgraded version. They don't conform. And they'll tell you. That's why we're like, what's happening? I always listen to my parent. Why is this kid like, no, I'm not doing that? And like walks away, and you're like, what do I do now? What do I do? I'm so confused. My husband and I have conversations about this all the time, where it's like, when we were little, our parents put food in front of us at the table and they said, eat it. And if you didn't eat it, you sat there until you ate it. And you just like did it. Even though you'd sit there like in your head saying all the terrible things, you did it. My kids are like, no, I'm not putting food in my body I don't want. And it's like, you could yell at them, you could do all the things, and it doesn't work anymore. And I see this with parents all the time, being like, it doesn't work. Like, this isn't working. Like, I feel like I have no control. I have no authority. These kids know their sovereignty more than any other human generation. this under 12 group right now. They know their sovereignty like no other generation has. They're like, I am human. I get to decide how my life works. And it's even crazier in my household because I teach them that, right? This is your body. This is your life. You get to do so. Sometimes it really bites me when they're like, this is my body and this is my life. And I do not choose that decision. And I'm like, oh my God. But if you as a parent really work on your emotions and get that out and start having the conversations with them, you build a relationship and you build a rapport where there's trust, there's mutual respect, and then it's different. When they're saying like, I'm not going to do these things, I'm not being triggered by my authoritarian and not being seen and not being heard. I'm more like, okay, so you don't want to do this, but like, this is what I need to happen. So like, how do we make this work? Like, we got to meet in the middle somehow, like, what are we doing? And it's a totally different dynamic because it's not me trying to force them. It's not me trying to make them do it. It's me being like, yeah, I get it. Like, I totally get it. Like, I wouldn't want to do that either, but like, we're like in an airport right now and I'm going to need ya to do this so that like, we don't get arrested. So like, how do we make this work? It's a different dynamic when you're cool, calm, and trying to have the conversation, which is hard for us as parents because we have a whole bunch of unresolved childhood issues living inside of us.
Yes. And when those kids are not complying, it's like, you don't respect me. You're not listening to me. How dare you speak to me that way?
Yeah. Like I said, they just push all our buttons. Oh, you don't feel seen? Oh, you don't feel respected? Oh, you don't feel appreciated? And so using the RRT, which we teach, and really saying all the things, like, guys, I have said the worst of the worst things about my children, my husband, myself, the people I love the most. It wasn't real. It wasn't truly my feelings. It was my emotions, my over crazy emotions. They're not logical. They don't make sense, but they're very real to your human. They're very real to your human. They're not meant to be said to the person. That's where we get messed up with emotions, is what we do is we let them fester, fester, fester. Finally, we erupt. We say them all to the person and the person is just crushed. And then we're crushed because we're like, oh my God, that was terrible. I didn't mean that. You did actually not deserve that. And so then we're very confused because we're like, but that was really how I felt. That was really real to me. But like, I just crushed a person and now I feel terrible. Those crazy ass emotions, guys, they're not meant for the other person. They're meant for you to heal, to understand you, to understand what core, unfulfilled human needs you are living with. And so from doing this work with my kids, like, yeah, I felt like nobody listened to me and I never got what I wanted. And, I had to go have my big adult temper tantrums that I was never allowed to have as a child. I was never allowed to have them as a child. Temper tantrums are extremely healthy. When you're like 5, 2, they're not so cool when you're like 30. But since we didn't get to have them in our younger years, now we're going to have them in our adult years. And you're seeing it right now in the world. I mean, look at the world right now. It's a bunch of adults having their temper tantrums is what's going on. And instead of throwing it at each other, we all need to go lock ourselves in the bathroom for 10 minutes, say all the things, tap on all the things, stomp our feet, rage out, kick our hands, find out what's really going on with us, and then come out and be like, I got this.
With my work with Sara Nickerack, and she's guided me through a lot of the RRT tappings. I'd start saying things on my own, like, oh, I'm so angry at myself for blah, blah, blah. And why did I yell at my kids? And I wasn't getting quite deep enough. And that's where working with Sara really helped me because I wasn't saying all the things. So she's guiding me into saying, it's okay to say those things, because if you don't say them and tap them out, you're just shoving them in.
They're just in your body. They don't go anywhere. And then they just wreak havoc in your body. They wreak havoc in your body.
Can you explain, like on a cellular level, what's happening when you don't get those emotions out in a healthy way and when you're just pushing them down?
Yeah, sure. So when you have an emotion, a whole physiological process occurs in your body, and an emotion is meant to be fully felt. So think of like a chain reaction in your body, right? This happens, this releases an enzyme, this releases this. It triggers your neuropeptide, which is your nervous system, that then basically goes out to your body and tells your body to react. And if you feel the full emotion, the full reaction happens, all is released, everything is well. But what happens is we stop it dead in its tracks. We might feel it for a second and then choose a better feeling thought. We might feel it for a little bit, but then we're over it and we breathe through it, we breathe it out. So it stops in the middle of the cycle. I often explain it to people like a little man with a hammer. So there's like this guy and he's hitting the ding, 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 ding. It's like sending out the cells. The next cell's going to this guy that's hitting the hammer. Ding, 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 ding. And it's this little chain reaction and you stop it in motion. And so you got a little man in there with his hammer going, ding, 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 ding. And you have this enzyme, cortisone, whatever it might be, just being shot off in your body. You know, and when you look at diseases and things like this, what are they? They're usually like something's just off in your body and it's just like shooting off and they can't figure out why. You know, when you have tightness in your muscles, it's like, it's just spasming. And it just can't figure out why. It's that little man in there hitting the hammer, shooting these things off. And so it's amazing in this work that we do to watch people heal from. I mean, we've had miracles upon miracles with people and the things they have healed in their bodies from doing this work because the full emotion gets felt, the man stops hitting the hammer, and it's like resolved. I mean, simple things from migraines to things like MS. We've had people, you know, post insane and post their scans and be like, I'm a medical mystery. My doctors have no idea how I'm now clean from MS, but I am. And I know that it's 100% due to this work.
I'm one of those people. I had so much pain in my body, so much pain, and I had to go for treatments, multiple treatments a week for the pain. And through working with life coach and RRT tapping, I feel so much better physically. And my energy, I have my energy back. Like I used to wake up so tired and groggy in the morning and brain foggy, and I had such a hard time getting going. And I wake up with energy. It's amazing.
Because it takes a lot to hold in. It takes a lot of energy to hold all that emotion in. A lot of energy. And so that's why half our world is exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
I would say more than half our world.
And it's so important for parents to understand how to handle their emotions, what to do with their emotions, how to feel their emotions, how to release their emotions, because parents are the ones that need to be coaching their children on emotions. And if we don't know what we're doing, how are we going to help our kids figure out what to do?
And we don't know what we're doing. We've never been taught. Like nobody has ever sat you down and said, hi, welcome to your human body. Your human has insane amounts of emotions in there. You will cry. You will rage out. Sometimes you're going to want to punch that person, but don't punch the human. The human's not for punching. You know, please take your emotions over to your emotional release room that is attached to your house. And you know, like, I mean, like, we don't learn these things.
We don't
learn
come
how
with
to
a
like
manual.
No, we learn how to like bathe our kids, feed our kids. We learn science, we learn math, we learn how to count money. But like no one ever teaches us like actually how our emotions work, how to handle them, what to do with them. We don't learn this at all. And then we wonder why we're sitting here in a world right now that is so divided, is so at each other's throats, that we have leadership that has no idea how to communicate with each other. Like we sit here and we wonder like why this is happening. Well, I can tell you, because you guys are all acting like 7-year-olds because you never actually processed all of the emotions that you were supposed to process in childhood and learned the things you were supposed to learn about your human and integrated your parts of your brain, your energy, and everything fully so that you could be a fully formed, emotionally whole human. And so now we're just a hot mess, humanity.
And for all you humans out there who are watching Sara right now in this interview, if you would like to learn more about your human experience, about how to handle your emotions, I invite you all and I encourage you all to join Sara and be a part of this movement. Head over to Facebook, join the Hey You Human community. And my favorite, well, I've got lots of favorite parts, but one of my favorite parts is every Wednesday you have your weekly wake up and it's at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It's absolutely free and you learn so much.
Yeah, they're so good.
Yeah.
They're so good. And so we have, lots of options and ways to work with us, but something that was really important to us is that I know so much of the work I do is for humanity, right? Like it is something all humans need. And so it was very important to me that if all humans need it, all humans can get it. And so that's why we have the weekly wake up where we go live every week, but we also have our free gift to everybody is our 5-day rapid relief technique free course. And it's actually 5 days of me walking you through the full method, how it works, how life actually works, how the universe and you co-create together, how emotions work, how to use this technique in your life, how to apply it to different areas of your life. And so that is also available too. And it's so good. I mean, people take that and they're like, this is better than paid courses.
Yes.
I've taken. I'm like, yes, 100%. It is better. We didn't make it like, yes, we do offer you our Unstoppable You program at the end of it if you want to go deeper with us, but we gave you everything you need to start using this in your life in this free course.
Wouldn't humanity be different if everybody took you up on this?
Yes.
And took this 5-day course. So it's saralongoria.com. It's a free 5-day training. Yep. And you will be so thankful.
Yes, do it.
That you've done it. Yes. Sara, it has been such an absolute honor and pleasure to speak with you today. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And I would like to invite the parents to, let's keep this conversation going. Come on over to Facebook to my group, the ADHD Village. And under Sara's thread, I'd like you to comment, what did you learn today? What will your next step be? And everyone who comments in the Facebook group will be entered to win
Hey You Human swag that is in the process of being created. So everybody who comments, we'll throw you into a drawing and we can pull somebody and we will send you either a water bottle, t-shirt, I'm trying to think, coffee mugs. The branding is so cool with this brand. You can go check it out in the Hey You Human community, but we have really cool swag. And so we'd be happy to give you one of those to send to one of your people.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you again, Sara. It's been amazing chatting with you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, parents. Join us for the next interview.